Welcome to Angling Buzz, brought to you by Fleet Farm. I'm Troy Linder. On today's show, we're going to dive into a diverse lure category. Now, if you walk into any good bait store, you'll see rows and rows of baits. And specifically, when we're talking about minnow baits, there's different sizes, shapes, color patterns that catch anything from panfish to bass, walleye, trout, salmon, pike, and even musky. Now, you might ask, why are there so many options there? The answer is simple: they work. And one of the main reasons is because they highly resemble the primary forage of many game fish. On today's show, we're joined by James Lindner from Lindner's Angling Edge. I know he has a lot of these baits. James, what can you share with us to catch more fish on minnow baits throughout the season?
Well, you're right in the fact that, Troy, we use a lot of different minnow baits for a wide variety of different species throughout the season. As you can see, the baits that are laying out here. Right now, this is really prime time for shallow water walleye fishing. The fish are just got done spawning. They're moving out into deeper water. A lot of fish are sitting on primary points in shallow water flats. If I had to identify my absolute favorite technique at this time of the year with a minnow bait, is the classic shad wrap. It's very simple. You make long casts along these flats, reel it down, and then actually one thing that's really important about this particular bait is the retrieve. And a lot of times I don't just straight retrieve it. What I want to do is I impart a sweeping retrieve. And what I'll do is reel it down and then sweep the bait. Reel it down, sweep the bait. So the bait's like hesitating like this. And it's a really key technique, triggering technique for minnow baits or for walleyes at this time of the year.
Yeah, I think most anglers realize the effectiveness of minnow baits for both trolling and casting situations. Now, not a lot of anglers think about hard baits for panfish. James, what are your thoughts about minnow baits for panfish?
This is one technique that I know a lot of the guys in the office have been using, particularly at about this time of the year, either pre-spawn or post-spawn, when the fish are coming into the shallow flats and around weed beds, and it's a utilization of a number 4 or number 6 X-Wrap. You know, and a lot of people understand that X-Wrap is a highly effective bait for a wide variety of different fish species, but do not apply it to crappie fishing. And when you think about it, a lot of early season crappie fishing revolves around what? Fishing with floats. Putting a float on the surface and a jig, and it's suspended over and around weed beds, shallow flats, where the fish are coming in or going out of spawning areas. Well, I tell you one thing, this thing is fabulously effective for catching crappies, like absolutely stunning. And what you do is make the same thing. You're gonna make a really long cast, reel the bait down 3 or 4 feet so the bait is slightly suspended over the tops of the weeds. But the biggest thing is, then you have to let the bait sit there and pause in the water column. And what we're gonna do is give it really short twitches so you're not moving the bait a long distance. Panfish, crappies, bluegills, one thing that's really critical is the bait is not moving too fast. This is a fabulously effective technique for catching crappies. I can guarantee you that much.
Now, what about for big fish like pike and musky?
Muskies and pike are really like erratic behavior, and we use them throughout the entire season, from early season, mid-season, and late season. What bait you're using is based on the depth of water you're fishing. You know, on the deck here, I have 2 more moderate and shallow water baits, the super shad and the shadow shad here, which you use a lot for fishing an erratic behavior over weed beds, over rock piles. Wind-blown rock piles, really highly effective for both pike and muskies. Later in the season, we use a lot of what you call these bigger baits, deeper diving baits. This is the X-Wrap Mag 15. There's one more version that's a 30. A lot of times what we do is fish this exact same thing, but we're fishing on real shallow flats that dump off into deep water. This is about the same time in fall when the tulipies are coming up to spawn. And what we'll do is cast these baits along those deep ledges, anywhere from 12 to 20 foot of water, right next to where those fish are coming up to spawn in. But we'll reel it down, and the same thing, you're gonna put that erratic behavior into triggering the fish in the bite. Fabulously effective in the cold water periods for both pike and muskie.
Well, I use a lot of jerkbaits for bass. What are your thoughts on minnow baits in regards to bass fishing?
You know, most bass anglers today, actually, when they think of jerkbaits anyway, they think about cold water period, either in spring and fall when they're highly effective, which are fabulous tools at that time of the year, but realistically they work out throughout the entire season. When you go buy these minnow baits, one thing you have to realize, there's different models, and what I mean by that, like this shadow wrap shad, you have to realize this is a high buoyancy bait. It's a floater, it floats up, so when I stop the bait, it actually rises up in the water column. The X-Wrap, on the other hand, is a suspending bait. I can reel it down and just pause the bait and let it sit at that fixed depth level. On the other hand, you have a regular shadow wrap. Now this bait is a slow sinker. I can count this bait down, and I've caught smallmouth bass and largemouth bass in the depths of 12, 14 foot of water on a 10 count, and you can impart that erratic behavior into it, so you can use them throughout the entire season, not only during the cold water period. You know, there's no question about it. Minnow baits are highly effective baits for all different species of fish.
Well, that's a very fun way to catch them. James, thank you for your time and sharing some insights into minnow bait fishing. Well, stay with us after this short commercial break. We have more minnow bait magic as Angling Buzz continues.
Want to save even more at Fleet Farm? Well, now you can with Fleet Rewards. It's free to sign up and there's no credit card required. Using Fleet Rewards is easy. Earn points every time you shop. Plus, get exclusive member offers, birthday and anniversary perks, free tire rotations, and more. Download the Fleet Farm app or create an account at fleetfarm.com/rewards to start earning points today. Fleet Farm, proudly serving the Midwest since 1955.
Looking for the perfect fishing vacation? Leech Lake, Minnesota. There's over 112,000 acres of water to explore with fantastic walleye, bass, pike, panfish, and trophy muskies. The fishing opportunities are endless. Leech Lake has it all with over 30 resorts, lodges, campgrounds, and hotels line its pristine shores. Plan your trip. It's Minnesota's original up-north vacation destination.
The Rumble Bug from Northland Tackle. Its performance will blow you away. This finesse-style crankbait comes in 15 colors that surround a high-quality balsa body with through-wire construction. This snack-sized powerhouse, with its tight action and reliable tracking, gives you longer casts and unmatched durability. The Rumble Bug from Northland Tackle. We are Walleye.
Marine Pro, from the makers of Seafoam Motor Treatment. Marine Pro is a complete marine fuel system treatment for all types of marine engines. Just pour it in. Marine Pro works to clean and lubricate your entire fuel system, helps engines start easier and run smoother, stabilizes fuel, and helps prevent costly boat engine problems. Fast starts and smooth running power have never been this easy. Seafoam Marine Pro, available at Fleet Farm.
Welcome back to Angling Buzz. Today's show, it's all about minnow bait magic. And right now in our Timely Topics feature, we're going to join Joe Nelson. He's out in the field. He's longline trolling for walleye.
So if we're talking early season walleye tactics, a lot of people don't think about pulling crankbaits, and it's a real mistake. I can think of a couple different walleye openers in the state of Minnesota where I'm from, where we've literally pounded fish on crankbaits right off the bat, and it can be in a lot shallower water than you might expect. So it's important to start thinking about covering water even early in the season, not just in the summertime, because so often as you look behind me, you can see all these reed beds. Earlier, a lot of those fish were up in there, you know, doing the deed spawning and whatnot. Now they're starting to move off to kind of these flats just off the edge of it, and so often they're chasing schools of shiners. So what we've got is a situation, we've got a long run of these reeds, the wind's piling into them. It's just a perfect early season strategy to pull baits up and down this break line, up and down this edge, and look for some of those pods of shiners. Turn on your side imaging, look for walleyes, and so often as is the case, you'll find them, and then you just got to decide, do I want to catch them with crankbaits or are they concentrated in small enough, tight enough pods where we can throw different baits at them? So when we're breaking down this spring tactic or this early season tactic of long line trolling, we got to start thinking about components and how we're going to get baits in front of fish's mouths. And I think the first place to start is with the bait itself. And right here we've got a Northland Rumble Series Shiner, and the Shiner is a perfect early season bait. It's that profile that those fish are looking for. It's what they're eating. It's what they're chasing up against these edges of weeds. And so finding that profile is the first part of the win. But the cool part about it too is the balsa and the way that this bait just looks and presents so naturally throughout the water. And to really accentuate that, I think a snap is important. You see that larger elongated split ring, that along with the snap really gives that bait maximum travel side to side. And so in clear water systems, I run a fluorocarbon leader, and really I've only got about a 6-footer here. And then eventually I take that to a braid, to a hard line. And I think braid is really nice to be able to feel. So often in these spring scenarios, you're bumping into some cover, you might hit a little bit of emergent weed growth. It's nice to be able to feel, and really that's what that hard line is all about. And if you work your way all the way down to the reel side of things, well, a line counter is great to be able to reproduce any of your winning trolling combinations. So if I know I got bit at 60 feet with this bait, I can go ahead and recreate that entire scenario, and a good line counter reel is going to help you do that. Now, on the rod side of things, that could be one of the most important components to this whole setup. And what we're talking here is a Legend Tournament walleye. It's a bounce and troll series, but the key part of this is both the power and the action. Now, the power is medium heavy, and that allows this rod to pull a lot of different baits, whether we're talking bottom bouncers or whether we're talking about these early spring crankbaits like this. But the cool part about it is the action. So this action is a medium moderate action. And what that means is that with this hard line on here that doesn't give, you've got a rod that does give. It's a little bit softer, and this rod's amazing because it's so lightweight while still having those soft characteristics that aren't going to pull hooks out of fish's mouths. And so when we're talking about pulling baits like this Rumble Series Shiner or even the Rumble Series Shad, you're going to have fish that come up and eat these baits, and once that line pulls tight, you don't want those hooks to pop out. And it's really key to have a soft enough rod with the medium moderate action that's going to help you to that end. So go ahead, rig yourself up. The tools of the trade are important, but the cool part is they're versatile. You can use them throughout the rest of the year as well. Whether cranking is part of your strategy to find them or whether it's part of your strategy to park on them and catch them, it's something that's definitely going to work for you in the early part of the year, despite what a lot of people think.
There are many situations in walleye fishing where long line trolling is the best option. Well, stay with us. After this short commercial break, we have our Buzz Bite reports as Angling Buzz continues.
Simple, fast, and easy. This automatic launching and loading system on boat-to-trailer.com makes unloading and loading your boat a breeze on both roller or bunk trailer configurations. This system is a simple one-bolt install. No more hanging over the boat, no more cranking in the boat, and no more wet feet. Speed your boat ramp time by visiting boat-to-trailer.com.
Developed from the latest technology, Blackfish Technical Apparel outperforms, so anglers have gear that they can trust in, no matter the conditions.
We are back for another open water season of the Angling Buzz. Captain Jared Hughes reporting from Duluth Superior Arrowhead region. Here's what we got going on. Cold water, ice just got off. Thank God. We're here. My favorite tactic, slow going. Fish are super lethargic, not reactive. So I'm liking this dead stick, a sliding egg sinker right there, to a double barrel swivel to stop the egg sinker going down. About a 3.5 to 4 foot leader. I Got a little bit of bead for attraction, some bling bling, you know what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. And then if that doesn't work, anybody knows me knows I'm a jig head. So we got this going on, nothing but a simple RZ jig. Walleyes they're going okay. Like I said, slow down your presentation. Live bait's a big thing. Make sure you keep the bait stores in business. Panfish are starting to kind of move up, but we're a little bit, I figure we're about 2 weeks behind schedule, but we're on our way. So that's what the news we got going from Duluth Superior. Hopefully everybody's on the water enjoying themselves. Here we go, rock and roll.
Thanks, Jared. Now let's head to Leech Lake with Toby Cavalivog.
Up here on Leech Lake, we're gonna be fishing cold water. It's clear and it's cold. Why? Because the ice just went off. And what does that mean? It means the fish are finishing up their spawn, and now they're gonna start transitioning to areas where they can find some food. So how are you gonna chase them? How are you gonna chase the walleyes this time of year? You're gonna wanna get that bait away from the boat, and preferably where there's not a lot of boats and not a lot of traffic. If there's a lot of traffic, they become real spooked with that clear water. So your best tactic is to do a 1-2 approach, real small jig. I happen to have a stand-up jig tied up right here. This is a Northland Fishing Tackle 1/8 ounce. I can get it a ways from the boat. I'd even go smaller at times if it's calm and clear. And I'll use a heavier jig too, like a 1/4 round, so that I can cast out long ways away from the boat and kind of snap it back, get that reactionary bite. And also, one more last tactic, your bread and butter Lydia rig, but not your standard Leech Lake walleye rig. This is like a 16th ounce baby that I get a long ways away from the boat as well. Drag it, super slow troll, but just bringing it right on the bottom.
Thanks, Toby. Now let's head north to Lake Vermilion with Billy Rosner.
Lake Vermilion's really well known for its walleye and musky fishing, but there's a lot of really great pan fishing also in Vermilion. In the spring, what you want to do is focus on those southwest bays that warm up the fastest, especially in the afternoons. A lot of times they'll be staging out in that little deeper water in those spots, and then they'll move in the afternoon when that water warms up. You want to look for stuff like, you know, your reeds, your down timber, that kind of stuff, good cabbage stuff. And a lot of times if it's calm out, you can sight fish them. You know, make sure you have a good rod. I really like these St. Croix Panfish series rods, 7.5 foot. You know, really nice action on them. And pretty go simple. You can use slip bobbers and a minnow. It's a lot of your ice fishing stuff will work on the crappies also. So if you get a chance, get out and explore Vermilion and get after some of those panfish.
Thanks, Billy. Now let's head east to Wisconsin with Mr. Bluegill, Troy Peterson.
The white bass have really moved into the river, and a lot of males right now are starting to migrate north. They're going to be in Oshkosh here for a little bit, and then they're going to move into Winneconne up into Fremont, where the spawn will start. And right now, while they're still migrating through, what we're using is 3-way rigs with flies. And some of my favorite colors that have been working really well have been, you know, the pink and blues, a pink lemonade, or a black and red with a lot of tinsel in it to give it that flash. And basically just dropping a 3-way rig down with a heavy sinker and pumping it along near the bottom going up current. And that's not only going to catch white bass, you're going to get walleyes, you're going to get some perch, and don't be surprised to get some doubles and triples as well. As they migrate further north, you're going to start to catch them more in the trees when they start to spawn, and there we're using spinners and you know, small little plastics on jigs and casting up into the shallows and working them back and catching them that way. So get out, enjoy the warm weather, and catch some of these fish. I'm Troy Peterson, Mr. Bluegill. We'll catch you guys on the water.
I'm not like you and my friend. You're not very much like you. By my side, I see things differently. You're my best friend, yes, my best friend. Rolling through this world together. You're my best friend, very best friend, very best of friends forever and ever. You're my best.
Lake Vermilion. Explore, relax, reconnect.
Minnesota's most beautiful lake.
Get hooked on our trophy walleye,
That's a beauty.
bass,
My favorite fish.
musky fish.
That's a beauty there.
Things to do? You'll never get bored.
Rooms with a view? We got 'em.
Lake Vermilion. 4 seasons of fun.
Like many of you, I've had back issues. From the pounding waves of Lake Erie.
To over 30 years of competitive angling.
And a lifetime on the water, but not anymore.
Smooth Moves changed the game.
It's a must-have for me and my clients. It's like my boat is floating on air.
They're easy to install.
Fully adjustable. It makes a day on the water a whole lot more comfortable.
Smooth your ride with Smooth Moves.
In 2021, Minnesota watercraft inspectors found that 95% of boaters were doing their best to prevent the spread of aquatic invasive species. In short, drain plugs were removed, no standing water was inside the boat, and no zebra mussels or plants were found on the boat or trailer. Thanks for following these simple habit-forming rules. Clean aquatic plants and animals from boats, trailers, and equipment. Drain all water from motors and live wells. Remove all boat plugs and dispose of unused bait in the trash.
And now it's time for our cool products brought to you by Fleet Farm. And we're going to start with the Mega Live Imaging from Humminbird. This is a game changer in marine electronics. You can see fish in real time and how they're interacting with cover, forage, and even your lure. You can see them bite in real time. It's quite amazing. There's 3 different viewing options: down mode, forward mode, and landscape mode. Mega Live Imaging from Humminbird. And next from Plano, the Edge Flex Series 3700. This is perfect for crankbaits and jerkbaits, especially if you're dealing with treble hooks. That can be a pain sometimes in tackle boxes, and they fit snugly inside of this. They have a dry lock seal on there as well as blocking the rust. Just a really great tackle box from Plano, the Edge Flex Series 3700. And next from Suffolk, some fishing line 832 Advanced Superline braid. I use this a lot. This is great. Actually, this 8-pound line is great for casting smaller, lighter baits. You can make very long casts with this. These are also great for trolling. You can add a monofilament fluorocarbon leader, and spooling up with some braid, you can last a couple of seasons easily with 1 spool of line. This is from Suffolk's, the 832 Advanced Superline High Vis Yellow Braid. And next from Northland Tackle, the Rumble Bee. And this has a wide wobbling action on here. You can just see from the lip design there. Nice bright colors. This is great for walleye and pike as well. There's a rattle inside there to add some more action. Again, this is great for trolling for walleye, the Rumble Bee from Northland Tackle. And next, the Flicker Shad from Berkeley in exclusive colors, only available at Fleet Farm. Color is Confidence. And that's what you have here in some nice bright colors, especially for walleye anglers from Berkeley, the Flicker Shad series. And today's show is about minnow baits, so we definitely have to cover the original minnow bait that started this whole category, and that's the original floater from Rapala. These come in a variety of different sizes, small ones for panfish and bigger ones for pike and musky. You can cast these, you can troll these. It's a very versatile bait. It floats, so you can also fish it on the surface. You can fish it on 3 ways. It's just an amazing all-around bait for just about any fish that swims. And up next from Offshore Tackle, this is the OR12 planer boards for many anglers. Boy, they love using these because you can spread your lures out. If your state rules allow that, you can get multiple lines out, and this will help you get a bigger bait, bigger weight out away from the boat further. And many times that's key to getting fish to bite. This is the side planer board OR12 from Offshore Tackle. And there's a lot of great panfish going on, so we're going to quickly cover the crappie minnow from Big Bite Baits. You can see this has a nice little narrow side to it, and about halfway down the bait it really tapers down, so with very little movement of your lure you can get a lot of action out of this. You can fish this under a bobber or just throw it on a jig and just cast it out and retrieve it back from Big Bite Baits, the 2-inch crappie minnow. Our weather is quite unpredictable. It can be warm, it can be hot. Well, Blackfish has you covered either way, especially with their Cool Charge UPF angler shirts. This one here, 4-way stretch, extremely comfortable. You can layer up in the morning with this, a light jacket over, and then when it gets hot in the afternoon, you're covered all day long with a 30 UPF rating from Blackfish, the Angler Long Sleeve Series. And lastly, the Back 40 Digital Food Dehydrator, and this is by Fleet Farm. They have a couple different sizes. This happens to be the 5-tray model that has a clear top on there. And if you're going camping, you're going on vacation with the family, you can pick some fresh fruits and vegetables from the garden and have some food on the go, as well as make, some homemade jerky, which has become very popular, especially in the past couple of years. The Back 40 food preservation system is the 5-tray digital dehydrator. Be sure to stop by your local Fleet Farm store, and you can always shop online anytime at fleetfarm.com. And right now it's time for our technique of the week.
Over the course of the years, I can't begin to tell you how many fish I've caught on minnow baits. They're effective ice out to ice up, and there are a number of different ways you can present them. There are also a wide variety of minnow bait styles, from shallow-lipped floaters that only run a few feet deep, to deep build models that go as deep as 30 feet. Now, while casting and retrieving can be a highly effective way to catch fish on these baits, here's some alternative ways to catch fish on minnow profile lures throughout the season. A lot of these methods revolve around trolling. Over the years, I've done a ton of trolling for walleyes, muskies, pike, and lake trout. Offshore tackle planer boards are fabulous tools to spread your lures over a large area. In states where multiple lines are legal, this is a highly effective way to cover a large swath of water away from the boat. There are many cases where fish are high in the water column or in shallow water, so it's critical to get your baits away from the boat to get bites because fish can be very spooky. Snap weights are another cool system to get your baits deeper in the water column, and they work great in conjunction with planer boards when you're trying to get those baits down into that 15 to 30 foot depths. If I'm targeting fish deeper than that or bottom hugging fish, I'll often go to a 3-way rig. This is a great way to deliver shallow running baits such as an original floating rapala or a storm thunder stick to greater depths. As a general rule, I'll run a 2 to 3 foot dropper line on the weight with a 4 to 5 foot leader line. Most of the time when I'm 3-way rigging, I will fish almost straight below the boat. This is a great tactic for deep water river fishing, and it's also good for Canadian lakes targeting big walleyes, northern pike, and lake trout. Last but not least, I always carry these Storm suspend strips and suspend dots with me. You can turn a floating bait into a suspending bait, or even a slow sinker to fish deeper water. Many of the best minnow profiles are lightweight baits that are somewhat hard to cast. These are great to have in the box to manipulate a bait to do whatever you want. There's no question about it. Minnow baits are great at catching lots of different species of fish, and they're a must to have in your boat.
Well, as you can see, there's a lot of versatility when it comes to trolling, and when you dial in the depth and speed for your bait, it's amazing how much you can catch. On next week's show, we're going to be switching gears to fine fishing destinations, seasonal peak fishing. And as always here on AnglingBuzz, we want to help remind you to stop the spread of aquatic invasive species. Anytime you're leaving any body of water, remember, clean, drain, dry. And also be sure to check us out online and social media, AnglingBuzz.com, and also on Facebook and Instagram, simply AnglingBuzz. We go more in depth into our guide reports. We have tips, articles to help you catch more fish. Well, thank you for joining us this week. I'm Troy Lindner, and we'll see you next time.